Hello, I'm Terry Dean of MyMarketingCoach.com, where you earn more, work less, and enjoy life. And today I'm going to be talking about how to quickly come up with winning ideas for your email sequences. This is a subject that comes up a lot with the clients that I work with. You're creating a list in your market, and you want to turn that list of subscribers into customers and clients for your products and services. It doesn't really matter whether you're selling a product or a service for what I'm going to show you today, and it also doesn't really matter how long of a sequence you want to create. I use the same methods whether I'm creating a sequence that's 5, 7 messages long, or whether we're creating an email sequence that might have 100 messages. I have a couple of clients now who have email sequences, autoresponder messages set up that last for several years. So if you subscribe today, they've already have programmed into their system email messages you're going to get for the next couple of years. We don't start with anything that extensive. That builds up over time, but you can start with just a few messages, and I'm going to show you how to come up with some of the ideas for the initial email sequence that you create for your list. The goal again being that we want to turn subscribers into customers as clients as quickly as possible, because you're going to find that the best time to strike is when the iron is hot. A lot of my clients report that they get a good portion of sales, sometimes 40%, sometimes as high as 50%, 60%, or even 70% in the first 7 days once they have someone on the list. So those first initial messages are extremely important in turning subscribers into customers and clients. And when I go through the method I'm going to show you here real quick is I want you to generate a bunch of ideas, and the way I do that is by mind mapping. And we're going to start off, so we're going to mind map an email sequence, and I just wanted to talk here by demonstrating what we would do in a market. So let's say that I wanted to go into a market and I wanted to teach people how to lose weight using a paleo diet. Okay, so let's say I was coming up with a paleo diet and fitness plan. Then I want to help, and the product that I'm going to be selling here would be a product about how to lose weight with paleo, and we'll just say that it's a low-cost digital product that leads in on here's how to lose weight. Maybe it has some bonuses on recipes, it has bonuses on fitness plan, and that's the initial product that I'd be selling in this case. And as I mentioned, it doesn't matter what product or service you're selling, you're going to see that the methods I use for mind mapping out the ideas could be used for any type of market and any type of product or service that you could be selling. So we're going to take this paleo weight loss plan. So what would I do first if I was thinking about the emails? As I said, I'd sit down and start mind mapping all the different types of ideas. The first type of idea I look for is, what is the origin story? Why was this product created, or why am I passionate about this market? Why did I decide to go into this market, and what story do I have to tell? Your origin story is extremely important, especially in the initial email sequence, because you want to make a connection with the customer, you want to make a connection with the desperate problem, and you want to make a connection of why you're in this space at all. You're not just another Me Too business wanting to sell them another product. There's already a lot of options in the marketplace, so why are you in this marketplace? What do you have to offer in this marketplace that isn't already being offered? So what is your story, your reason for being in this market? At one point I was 235 pounds, and I've lost 65 pounds since then. I've stayed around 170, 165 to 175, so that would be part of my origin story in that market. Before I lost the weight, I was actually having stomach pains. That was part of my desperate problem, was a health condition that actually gave me the desire to lose weight. That problem drove me to lose weight, and so that would be part of the story that I would tell. I needed to lose weight, and then I talk about losing weight. That's part of my origin story. How did I lose weight? What were the steps I took to lose weight? All that could be included in the origin story, and then the fact that I've kept it off for several years now without regaining weight. As I said, my weight varies a little bit between like 165 and 175, but I've kept it off for years now. So you're talking a minimum of 60 pounds have been kept off. So that would all be part of my origin story. So no matter what you're selling or what market you're in, think about what your origin story is. It might not be a personal story for you. So might not be you that generated the results, but how did you get in this market? How were results generated? Who were they generated for? Why did you decide to go after this market? That's all part of your origin story, and you'll talk about that in some of your initial emails. So also I would add in that I'd do weight training to go with it. So let's go to the next aspect. So the first one is your origin story. The next thing I'm going to put on my mind map is I'm going to be thinking about myths in the industry. What myths are in this industry that are holding people back from success? It's basically making them stay overweight. That's keeping them from losing the weight with this method. Well, one of the myths in this is that you have to be extremely strict with a diet. And that's a myth in the industry. And I just drove out here when I was creating my mind map, I said, well, the real truth is you can be 80-20. There's points that you don't have to be as strict. You just need to follow the diet, follow the plans most of the time, eat healthy most of the time. There's still room for not being perfect on this, and being perfect will actually set you up for failure. That's what the answer to that myth. Another myth here is that it costs more to lose weight, that healthy foods cost more. That's not necessarily true. So I could talk about that myth, that you have to count calories. That's one of the myths in this industry. And another myth in the industry is that calories don't matter at all. Well, both of those would be subjects that I could talk about in emails. Let's move on to another one. So far, we have your origin story and we have myths you could talk about. What would be the objections someone would have to buying your product or service? So why might they decide not to buy your product or service? What reasons would they tell you that they're not buying your product or service? They might say that they don't have time. They don't have time to follow whatever the plan is. That objection ends up in almost no matter what you're selling, you're going to see an objection like that. They might like to enjoy social eating. How can they eat socially and stay on a plan like this? That might be one of the objections. Maybe there's an objection with money. They can't afford to do it. Okay? That almost comes up in everything too. Usually almost any product or service is going to be some objection about money related to it also. In this case, cravings would be an objection. So I'm probably going to have to talk about cravings in this market probably pretty early in the email sequence as we're thinking about it. Maybe they failed previously. Again, in weight loss, probably a subject I would have to talk about failing previously. They're afraid of fat, the diet they plan on make, or maybe they're afraid of carbs. That's another one that they might have. So they're afraid of certain types of foods that maybe are actually healthy for them to eat. So that's another objection that they might have. Let's continue on. So we got objections, we have myths, we have your origin story. What are the beliefs they need to have to purchase your product? So what beliefs do they need to have before they're ready to buy from you? Okay, so what would they believe? They would first need to believe that they can actually get fit. Okay, they're going to have to believe that it's possible to get fit, or they're not going to buy. They're going to have to believe that it will work for them personally. It's often easy to convince people that whatever you're selling has worked for others, but will it work for them personally? So that's one of the beliefs that they're going to have. And again, this one will kind of fit with almost any product or service. They have to be convinced that this is the best path for them to get into shape. And at this point in time, if I continue drawing out my lines on my mind map, I might list some of the other types of diet plans they could go on because there's so many different ones. And I could just go over to Amazon.com and look at the list of weight loss plans, basically search for weight loss or search for diet, and look at a lot of the other plans. And I could end up drawing all kinds of lines about all the different plans that I could discuss somewhere in the email sequence, because they need to believe this is the best path. Because people aren't just looking for a solution to their problem, they're looking for the best solution to the problem. Another one of the things that they have to believe is they're going to have to believe not only are they going to lose the weight, but they're going to keep it off. And so I'm going to have to talk about keeping the weight off as another one of the aspects here. Okay, so let's continue on. What else will I put on my mind map? I will almost always write down case studies. What case studies do I have to tell about this subject? For example, I have my wife who also lost weight. Not as much as I did. She didn't need to lose as much as I did, but she lost weight also. I have friends who lost weight with a similar plan. I also have a client who has similar plans that they followed and lost weight. So there's a lot of different case studies I'd look for. So you could look for your own case studies. And in addition to this, I could go out and look for other people who've lost weight to potentially interview for content pieces about losing weight with this type of diet also. So you want to think about what case studies do you have that you can share. These could be your case studies, they could be other people's case studies, but case studies are extremely powerful in marketing to your email list. Another aspect that I like to look at, and this is often like a really easy way to come up with a lot of ideas for your email list, is what questions are being asked on forums. And so for this topic, since I was saying paleo weight loss, what I did was I jumped over to one of the paleo forums. I did a search. I found one of the popular paleo forums, and I looked at very popular messages that were being posted on the forum that had a lot of views and a lot of replies. And some of the questions that came up, there were very specific questions coming up on the forum. Do carbs make you fat? Was one of the questions. Another question was, how do you deal with blood sugar spikes? Another great question to answer in an email. What about intermittent fasting? How does that work into the plan? Well, that was another major question there. What about what do you do when your weight loss stalls? So you get stuck at a plateau. Oh, another very important question to talk about. Well, how does it match up with vegetarian diets? How does it compare with vegetarian diets? How often should you train? Either aerobic or weight training. How often should you train? That's another subject that came up. And I found all these questions in just a few minutes before I put this little mind map together for you. So if I actually spent, we'll say, an hour or 2 hours looking around for questions, I could easily come up with 25 to 50 questions or more just going through the question section, the types of questions people are asking. Okay, we're going to add on another little element to our mind map here, and that's contrarian. How could I be contrarian from what other people in the market are saying? You don't want to go into a market and say the same thing that everybody else in the market's saying. You don't want to go in and just go with the common wisdom that everybody else talks about. You need to have something that's a little different. So what would I talk about that's different in this market from what other people are doing? Well, in the paleo market, they don't talk about rice very much. I might mention rice, or I might mention beans, which they don't like. So that would be like some variations. Or I might talk about higher carbs than what many of them are like really low carb. But maybe I'll talk about higher carbs, because a big reason I liked that was to eliminate processed foods more than anything else. So all those could be subjects I talk about that might not fit with the rest of the market. It's almost like you're looking for contrarian content that would make a portion of the market a little angry at you, because you're going to carve out your niche in the market to attract the right customers that fit in the plan that you have. And you can see here's the overall mind map that we have so far, done very quickly for a market I didn't spend much time researching. I just looked in, okay, say if we went into this market, what could I create for an email sequence in this market? And here are some of the ideas that you want to look for. We got origin stories, we've got case studies, we've got questions, objections, beliefs, myths, contrarian content that you can provide. Just make a little list of this. I mean, you can do it with mind map software. I used iMindMap to do this. There's free mind map software up there called FreeMind, or you could just sit down and make a list in whatever word processor that you wanted to use. So the ones I gave you are origin story. Think about myths in the industry, objections to purchase. What are the objections they have to purchase? Beliefs buyers will need to have before they buy your product or service. What case studies do you have of others? What questions are asked in the market? And what contrarian content can you provide? Once we've done the mind map, then we're going to go to the next step, and we're going to actually start writing out some of the initial emails. So creating the first initial emails, I just wrote a quick outline of what I'd do in the first 7 emails, and I would continue on using the mind map after this point. The first email, I would have a free ethical bribe, a free gift that would basically be a case study of how I lost 65 pounds without counting calories. Okay, and the first email, we just have a download for that. And then we'd have a teaser for upcoming content. Second email would be about, will it work for them personally? So I would remind them of the free giveaway that we talked about, and hopefully I'd have a case study I could have for a female, such as from my wife or from someone else, that I could talk about a female who also lost weight. And I'd even like to integrate in one of those main objections, the social eating, into the story if I can. So basically we're going to refer back to the first email, we're going to refer back to the ethical bribe, and then we're going to see if we can insert another case study that hits another segment of the customers that might be on the list, and really tells a story that illustrates that yes, they can do this, and potentially can we also overcome one of the objections. So you see I'm pulling from different pieces in our mind map to create this. The third email might be about the myth of being 100% strict. So I'm going to let them off the hook a little bit in this email, because they'll probably have the opinion, well, I tried before and I failed. Well, I'm going to be letting them know why it didn't work for them. It's not their fault, because they tried to be perfect when a situation when you can't be perfect. And I might talk about a free workout day meal, and I might give an example of one of the foods I love to eat who doesn't fit the plan well, and then why being too strict causes failure. The fourth email might be a story about chocolate craving. Remember, I said that cravings would be very important in this market, and how to deal with it. Handle the cravings objection in this email. You notice this, all these emails so far, I'm trying to bring in a story as possible, and all the stories are matching up with the concepts that we had in our mind map. The fifth email might be, well, why fat doesn't make you fat, and then talk about several superfoods such as nuts, why not to follow fad diets, and cover some past bad diet experiences I had. Again, we're telling stories here. Email 7, meals in just a few minutes a day, which would confront the time objection that we came up with, and we'll include some recipes, and we'll pitch a recipe bonus to go with the guide. Now, you might be asking yourself at this point, where would we be pitching our product and service? The answer I give you is we'll be pitching your product or service in every single one of these emails. So we will actually be pitching your product or service. It will be inside in the first email. We probably won't pitch the product itself right in the email, but we will have it in the ethical bribe. It will be in the downloadable bonus, and we'll be linking back to it there. Every one of the other emails, we're going to have a link over to your product sales page or your service sign up page. In each of these emails, it's the fact that we're going to tell the story first, and then we're going to lead into whatever our offer is. So we're always selling. We want to make sure that we're there when the customer is ready to buy, and often they're ready to buy early on in the sequence. So I don't hide our links. I don't hide the fact that I'm selling something. I let them know pretty early on in the sequence, pretty much almost in every email. Not in every email, but almost in every email, I make it an offer to them. So that's something you want to think about as you're doing your email sequences. How can I integrate in stories? How can I integrate in content? And then how can I integrate and transition over the pitch? How does my offer complete whatever it is I'm talking about? And you can see that's what we're doing with this type of sequence. And we could continue on past there. We could have the 8th email, the 9th email, the 10th email, all the way through by going back to our mind map. And the one that you create for your market, your mind map for your market, will probably be a lot more extensive than one that I just showed here. Now, if you want to get more information on how to create autoresponders and other types of emails, I have a course over at autoresponderalchemy.com. It includes 6 weeks of video modules that I take you step by step through all the different ways I create ideas for emails. It takes you step by step how to write the emails, how to do strong promotions, how to do limited time promotions that bring in a lot of sales. You get my PDF guide that I call the $1 Million Emails, which includes 80 templates of my emails. And all these emails are actively in use. And I actually went through all of my active emails and broke them down and told you step by step how to create emails similar to them, to how to use them as a model to create your own emails. So I'm not actually writing emails for your market. That would be impossible depending on what market you're in. But I gave you the templates, the concepts, the psychology behind what I do in each email so you can easily break it down and model them for your market. I gave you weekly cheat sheets to go with each of the video modules, gave you quick references guides to jog your memory. I gave you email exercises to practice. I tell you which of the email templates to start with, which ones are the easiest to use, where to get started with practicing your email. And then I gave you a couple of bonuses of how to generate your first 10,000 subscribers, and then also how to create one-time offers, upsells, backends, affiliate programs, and high-ticket offers to create maximum income from the subscriber list you build and from the emails that you're writing. And then, of course, you get a 30-day full money-back guarantee with the course. You can go out and check out full details about that over at autoresponderalchemy.com.